If your accountant has ever told you to cut back on professional development or slash your teacher appreciation budget or your staff development budget just so you could stay afloat, or has told you, hey, you probably can't go invest in that program, please listen. The problem is not that you're spending too much money on your people or yourself or your investment or your support system. It's that your school has invisible money leaks that are draining your profit, leaks that no spreadsheet will ever catch or accountant. So I created the 6 money leaks of schools that show you the 6 core areas that schools lose money every single month without realizing it. If you close even one of them, your profits will start to soar without sacrificing your team. Go get it now and stop blaming the things that are actually building your school.
Welcome to the Schools of Excellence podcast, where we transform everyday leadership struggles into powerful legacies that impact generations. I'm your host, Chanie Wilschanski, a 20-year veteran of school leadership who has helped hundreds of school leaders achieve what many thought was impossible through our signature programs, School Leadership HQ and Enrollment Engine. With our battle-tested frameworks and blueprints, leaders have achieved 90% parent retention, 50% less staff turnover, 15% improved profit margins, and increased enrollment by 25%. My mission is simple: to revolutionize school leadership by elevating the skills, the habits, and mindset of passionate leaders ready to create lasting change. Join me as we build your legacy of excellence, one transformative conversation at a time. Welcome back to the Schools of Excellence podcast. Today we're kicking off our Money Leaks series. So last week I spoke about how I created the 6 money leaks in schools that are silently draining your school profits. And so today we're diving into the first money leak, which is all about maximizing your school's revenue potential by optimizing space. So the first money leak is space optimization. And I actually want to kick off with a story that I'll dive into a little bit more into the episode. But I was working with a school that when she had connected with me and we started to work through the money leaks diagnostic, she said that her school was 85% capacity full on paper. And I knew that that wasn't true because the way that she was describing her lived experience of the day and her teachers and her admin and all of that kind of stuff, I'm like, something's off. So I sat down with her and ran the numbers properly. And the school was actually operating at 72% capacity. That 13% discrepancy was not a math mistake, okay? It wasn't just a math mistake. That was a $96,000 money leak, okay? I want you to sit with that for a second. A $96,000 money leak. What would you do if you found $96,000 inside of your center? Now, the worst part about that money leak was when I brought it to her and surfaced it, it was being justified in the name of protecting staff. But here's the thing. When you try to shield staff from the discomfort by avoiding enrollment decisions, you do not protect them. You undermine their future. You literally rob from their future. And so today we're going to get real about the optimization leak, which is the first part of our 6-part money leak series, because what you need to understand is that full doesn't mean profitable, and systems, not stories and excuses and circumstances. Systems are what fix this, right? Rhythms are what fix this, not stories, not excuses, not all of that kind of stuff. So let's explain what space optimization actually is. And we need to define it. Space optimization are empty or underutilized spaces that could be generating income. It includes unfilled classrooms, unused blocked spaces, facility sittings empty during off hours or whatever it is. So that's the definition of space optimization. Now, let's talk about what space optimization isn't. It is not about stuffing your classrooms. It is not about cramming kids in every corner or overloading teachers or reactive, guilt-driven decision-making. That is not what space optimization is. It is also not about one-off solutions like, oh, we should rent out this space, no. Okay. Space optimization, closing this money leak, is about installing consistent systems that maximize square footage in your building, that generate predictable revenue per classroom, and that align your staffing schedule, your tuition and timing into a functional ecosystem. Now, my big thing that when I talk about installing consistent systems, and you'll see this when you look at the Money Leaks diagnostic, where I say, do you have a system for this? Because what happens a lot of times is leaders create systems that are people-driven, not school-driven. And what I mean by that is they design the system based on the person that's leading the system or working the system, as opposed to this is the system that the school needs to remain consistently profitable and build sustainability. And so what happens is the moment that person leaves or that person does something else or whatever it is, now they have to start all over again. And so that's why it feels like you're constantly building systems or rebuilding systems or tweaking or updating your SOPs or your processes or whatever it is. It's because the systems that you're building were not designed for the school. They were designed for the person that was leading it. And that's a whole separate conversation. But for today, I really want you to be thinking about it from the perspective of how can we install consistent systems and rhythms within it, right? So there's the system, right? You build the system, but then what are the rhythms that we need to use to consistently use that system properly? So I want to go into the 4 core systems of space optimization. Again, all of this is inside the diagnostic, and I'm explaining here in what it looks like. Every single one of these things, areas of space optimization, need a system, not a Band-Aid, not a seasonal hack, not a tip and trick, a repeatable rhythm to come back to this system. So let's talk about enrollment tracking. Like I started the episode, I had an owner, she swore that she was at 85% capacity. But I sat down and pulled the room data. So I'll walk you through the story the way it actually happened. I went room by room with her, and I actually helped her see that her enrollment was at 72%. And I'll show you how we figured that out, okay? So in her infant room was licensed for 8, but she only had 6 kids enrolled in the infant room. So it felt full, but it wasn't full because that classroom is actually at 75% capacity. Then we went to her toddler room. Her toddler room was licensed for 12, but she only had 8 toddlers enrolled. 8 toddlers enrolled is 67% of the capacity for that room. Then she had a preschool room, which was licensed for 20 and had 15 kids enrolled. Again, that room only had 75% capacity. So when she adds up the numbers, her entire center wasn't operating 85% capacity. And that itself is a massive money leak because what she thinks she's doing, she thinks that she's full. And there's a lot of stories that we tell ourselves when it comes to enrollment with space optimization, right? The room feels full. We need to save spots for siblings. Whatever it is, right? It's easier on the teachers. I can't find staff anyway, so why should I bother enrolling? And the challenge with this is that or we tell ourselves I can't put 20 kids in that classroom. I can't do this. I can't do that. Whatever story you're telling yourself. And so it's too much on the teachers, right? We're constantly telling ourselves these stories. And what you have to understand is actually hurting the teachers also, because in your desire to protect them, you're hurting them. Because when you hurt the company profits, you hurt the teachers. When you hurt the company profits, you hurt the teachers. So when you look at this from a cash perspective, with her tuition at $1,000 a month, that's a 13% gap. And she thought, right, she was at 85% capacity, but with a 13% gap, that was $8,000 a month in missing revenue. $8,000 a month is close to 6 figures that school was saying no to every single month. That's a massive profit leak. It's a massive money leak inside of their center. So the first thing we did, from a systems perspective, is we sat down and built a system on how they can actually fill the percentage target per room. So if the target for that room was 90% full, what is the system to get that classroom full and then maintain it? So there's the system to get it full, but then what's the rhythm to keep it full? And then the owner, we helped her create a dashboard for enrollment health across all the rooms. And how often was she looking at that dashboard? And then what were the conversations that she was having with teachers or with directors when they weren't hitting these targets, right? These are the systems. Feeling full is not the same as being full. And avoiding full enrollment to protect staff ends up hurting everyone, including your team. Let's look at another section of space optimization, extended care revenue system. So a lot of times schools are open, let's say from 7 to 6, 7 to 7, 7 to 9, whatever, 9 to 3, whatever it is, okay, whatever your standard hours are. The particular school that I was working with, they had a critical gap between 6:30 and 7. So her center was open from 7 to 6. I don't remember exactly, but she had like at 7:03, she had like 9 families waiting to drop off. And then like by 7:10, there were another 12 families that were ready to drop off. And I'm like, okay, you have like 25 people at your door at 7:12 in the morning. So I'm going to do a little hypothesis here that if you had an early care option from 6:30 to 7 and charged a premium for it, you would fill it with 25 spots. Guess what her first response is? I can't find a teacher to do that. I was like, I just presented an idea to you on how you can make more money. And in less than 2 breaths, you already told me that you can't find someone to do it. I don't know about you, but in the last 2 breaths, I didn't hear you ask someone if they would do it. Like I presented an idea and you counted to 4. You went, I can't find someone to do it. You literally didn't ask anyone. Like I'm looking at you right now. There's no way that you went to a teacher and asked her if she would do it, but you already decided that no one's going to do it. That for an extra 30 minutes, if you charged a premium and you told the teacher, listen, you don't have to commit to this for the rest of your life. You're not signing a marriage contract. Would you commit to doing this for 90 days? We're going to run a pilot program or for 6 months or whatever. Now she's like, okay, you know what? Fine. I can do that. I'm like, okay, great. Go ask a couple of teachers. Okay. So she asked 3 teachers. One of them said that they would be able to do it, right? For the extra cash that she would get paid. And she had this conversation and she's like, and she comes back to me and she's like, oh my gosh, honey, like I had the teacher commit. She said she would do it for 60 days. I had she had 13 parents sign up immediately. But by the first day that she started, like she put out a notice that she was going to do it. And maybe 4 days later when it started, within those 4 days, she had 18 people register. 18 people register. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. And it's really understanding that sometimes parents need something that you can offer in an extended care or early care or aftercare or late care or whatever it is, but you have to be willing to ask. So the systems that sit under extended care revenue system, right? Are you doing quarterly audits of arrival and departure patterns? This is a rhythm that we teach inside of Schools of Excellence where we work with our clients where they're doing predictable audits on pattern recognition, right? So if you look at some of the best businesses in the world, right? Let's take McDonald's, for example. McDonald's, Burger King, all these like chain restaurants. They have specific people that go out and track traffic patterns on how many cars pass by through, what's the foot traffic here, right? Like how much money would we make if we put a McDonald's on this corner versus that corner? They're looking at the patterns. Guess what? You don't have to be McDonald's, but you can run a quarterly audit of your arrival and departure patterns. And then you can see, hey, during this season, we have a massive influx of people that actually want early care. Let's get one more teacher. Let's open it up more. Let's charge a premium for it and let's see what happens. So that's one example, again, of a system that you can put in place. Another thing that a couple of our clients did is a tiered pricing strategy for premium time. Again, early care costs X amount. Then there's the general pricing for general child care of like general standard hours. And then there's the aftercare. You don't need to be open from 7 to 7 at the same price point. You can have 7 to 8 is one price point, 8 to 4 is a different one, and then 5 to 7 is something else. Like, and again, sometimes people hear something like, oh, that's so complicated. Oh, that's so this. None of our competitors do that. Okay. Hi. Again, one breath and you're already coming back to me with all the reasons why you can't. Go try it. And I can tell you, I'm not just telling you go try it. People have done it and it works. And it works. So the key mindset shift over here is like you're already doing so much work. You're opening the gates every single day. Charge for it. Don't give away the most valuable real estate time blocks on your calendar, right? On your teacher's calendars for free. Like charge a premium for that spot on the calendar, which is 6:30 to 7 or 7 to 7:30 or whatever it is. So that's the second section of space optimization. Let's look at the third section, room usage and your licensing system. This was such a unique thing that happened. I worked with a school and, well, before I tell you the story, actually, it's very interesting because I was telling a client to use their room for like something else. And she's like, I can't, I'm not licensed for that. And I was like, okay, so you can go check out your regulations and you can put in a request to maybe have that area zoned for that. You can update your license. You can put a request for it. Like, there are so many ways around things if you get creative, but you actually have to use your brain and not get so like, we can't. Yes, you can. So anyways, let's go back to the story. So I was working with a school and they were turning away toddler families every single week. They had an infant room that had a couple of empty spots that they couldn't seem to fill. Their infant room was licensed for 8. And then as I'm walking through room by room with them, we're realizing that their toddler room that was licensed for 12 was fully enrolled, right? They had 12 kids in there, but they also had a wait list of 8 families for that room. $1,400 per child. They were turning away around $11,000 a month in revenue because they didn't have spots. So I'm like, okay, well, let's think of this creatively. So what they did was they rejigged the room usage. Okay, they relicensed the infant room to become a toddler room because that was a bigger room. And they were able to get more kids inside it. They rezoned the infant room. It took them about 60 days to do that, maybe just over 60 days, okay? And they did this small shift. Now, the reason I share these stories for you is because so many of you feel trapped in your financials. So many of you feel trapped in like, well, I'm not making enough money. And I want you to recognize that every single one of these money leaks offer tremendous opportunity for you to figure out how to use your space better. Okay, how to use your space better, right? Like, I'll give you an example, like a personal example. Many of you know we did construction in our house. We had a leak in my girls' room. And when I brought someone in, the designer, when she was going to relook at the room, I said, listen, this room is massive. It used to be the master bedroom before the previous owner had bought it. And then they created an extension to the house, which is the master that we have right now. They said, this room is massive. Like, I feel like we can easily turn this into 2 rooms. And she was like, absolutely. And she reconfigured it and we turned it into 2 rooms. And it's not just about now that my girls each have their own room. It's the fact that now I have 6 bedrooms. Now I have 6 bedrooms. And for a family like ours, where we're always hosting family from out of town, more bedrooms is like the gold mine for me. And so going back to the story, like when she relicensed the infant room to accommodate the toddler overflow, she brought in an additional $11,000 a month in missed revenue. Now, I want to tell you a different example of room usage. So we worked with another client. They had a boardroom, conference room / boardroom that was kind of used maybe once a month, probably more like twice a quarter. And the director was really trying to figure out like, okay, where do we get more money from? And so she did this money leaks diagnostic and she looked at the space optimization and room usage section. And she's like, okay, what if I turned this boardroom into a classroom? And they remodeled the room. They got it zoned for the infants. She was able to get 8 kids into that room. And now she has another classroom, literally from transforming one room into a classroom. They didn't buy another building. They didn't make an extension. They didn't have to do any of that. There was actually already plumbing inside of that boardroom. There was a private bathroom extended in that boardroom. Not extended. There was a private bathroom as part of that boardroom. So there was already plumbing. There was already a bathroom. It was like amazing. And now she has another classroom with 8 kids in the most prime age, which was the infant room. So let's talk about systems. You need a system where you're doing quarterly capacity review. You're reviewing the demand for a specific age group versus the licensing that you already have. Another rhythm that needs to sit on your calendar is space usage forecasting. So you're looking at your enrollment pipeline and what's coming, like who's aging out, who's phasing out, where's the summer, where's the new year, where's January, whatever it is, whatever your pipeline looks like, right? And you're doing space usage forecasting. And then you want to have a process for relicensing or rezoning adjustments, in just like the examples that I told you. Your building should be able to be flexible with your strategy, not the other way around. Do not let rigid licensing dictate your financial ceiling. I'm going to say that again for all of you. For all of you, oh my gosh, do not let rigid licensing dictate your financial ceiling. There is always a way around it. Always. And if you don't know the option, go find yourself more options. My favorite quote from my mentor, Todd. Every time I would come to him and I'd be like, these are the only 2 options. He's like, you got to go find yourself a 3rd option. Like, there's no such a thing as there's only 2 options. There's no such a thing as this is the only thing that I could do. Go find more options. That's the power of a community, of a network, of getting a good mentor, of having a conversation with people who are not in your fog and could see things differently. Okay, let's go to the fourth thing, the external rental system. Your space can generate revenue when it is not in use, if it is structured right. But if you don't have a system, then it just becomes another item on your to-do list, and no thank you. So the first thing you always want to be mindful of, when you start a project, you will have to maintain that project. So before you decide, oh, I have multi-purpose space, let me rent it out for parties, for birthday parties, for engagements, whatever it is, you need to ask yourself, like, is this going to become something that we want to do consistently? Or is this like a one-time thing we're going to do during the spring semester, during the fall, or in the summer when enrollment's a little bit lower? Or do we want to run community events? Whatever it is. Like, do you want to rent out your space one time? Do you have a big open multi-purpose room? Like, I've said this story many, many times when I was coaching a client that was in New York City, and then a huge multi-purpose room. And I said, listen, you're in New York City. You're like in the heart of Chelsea, Tribeca neighborhood. You can rent this out for $5,000 for 2.5 hours, 3 hours easily. She put out a couple of notices. She got 3 spots. That's $15,000 for a month. In 1 month, she rented out 3 times, 3 Sundays. That's incredible. Really understand what it means to do space optimization with other parts that you have, right? You can run seasonal campaigns. We're doing winter weekends, or we're doing a summer thing, or whatever it is. There's so much that you can do just because you rent. But always remember this, like, just because you can rent the space out, it doesn't mean you should. You want to test it. You want to decide if renting your space out deserves to be part of your operational rhythm and how you become more profitable. Now, let's wrap up here. Every square footage in your building is either generating profit or stealing profit from you. And if you do not optimize your space, you are making emotional decisions instead of strategic one. You are undercutting your staff's long-term stability, and you are working way harder for less. You need to install systems and rhythms to fix the leak. So it's not just enough to diagnose it, which we did a lot on this call, and I shared a lot of practical strategy. You also want to understand the system, the framework, and the rhythm to come back to it repeatedly and consistently. So here are a couple of next steps. Number 1, run your current enrollment room by room audit. If you don't know how to do this, we actually have this inside of School Leadership HQ. You could click the link in the comments to apply. We have an entire process of how we do a room by room audit. Another thing that you could do is you can identify one underutilized block, whether that's a space or a time or whatever it is, and assign a revenue goal to it. Another thing you can do is choose one system that you want to install around space optimization within the next 30 days. This is not about doing more. This is about aligning with what you already have. You want to align with what you already have. The second action item I want to talk about here is teaching this to your leadership team. If you're the only one that sees leaks, you're the only one that stays fixing them. So you need to share this episode with your leadership team, with your director. And after they listen to it, hold a 15-minute debrief. Where are we leaking revenue? What story are we telling ourselves about why this is okay? Right? Share the episode with your team. If you're the director listening to this, share this episode with your owner. Do this together. It can't just be one person seeing the leak, right? And then lastly is identify the system that's missing. Right? Like I say this to leaders all the time, like profit gaps and profit and money leaks, like they don't come from laziness. They come from missing systems and rhythms. We need to have a system and a rhythm for all of these spaces because it's not just about fixing it once. You don't change the AC filter once and you're good to go, especially not in Florida. You have to change it consistently, which means you need reminders and you need a predictable rhythm to change the AC filters. You need the same thing with your space optimization. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. This is the first money leak in the 6 money leaks. Next week, we're going to do schedule efficiency. That's the second money leak out of the 6 core money leaks in schools. Thanks so much for joining me.
If you are loving the Schools of Excellence podcast and have gotten any value out of it for your school, I would love if you can do 2 things for me. 1, subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. And 2, can you please leave us a review? Reviews help other school leaders know that this is the place to learn how to build a school of excellence. And I would be so grateful if you can do that for us. Your help and support makes this show to be able to be listened by the thousands of other school leaders all around the world. Thanks so much for listening, for giving us your time and attention each and every week, and I appreciate that you have joined us. We had a client that we worked with, and she was really struggling with profitability. She kept raising tuition. She actually did 3 tuition increases within a 15-month cycle, and she still could not catch up. So I helped her work with our 6 money leaks in schools, and she only used 3 of the 6 money leaks and cut her expenses by 50%. 50. She did not fire anyone, she did not slash any of her programs, and she did not work more hours. Again, the 6 money leaks are not hacks or spreadsheets. These are patterns. They are small decisions that feel so normal that your school does, but they quietly drain your school's profit. So if you've ever wondered why you're working so hard, but still not seeing the return, this is your first step to clarity. Click the link in the show notes and find out what it's actually costing you.